start to see everything I feel is just because I believe this belief. That's all that's happening. This has no connection to anything other than belief. In other words, it's not connected to reality. See, outside of the belief, and you can see this very quickly. Take 5 seconds where you just don't entertain any thought about any kind of insufficiency. For just 5 seconds. And if you can do that for 5 seconds, you see, in those 5 seconds, there's no insufficiency. There's no sense of shame or fear or I might be found out because I'm faking it. There's nothing there. Do you get the feeling? And that starts the beginning of showing you, my God, it's all made up. See, because what keeps it alive in our system is we really believe that it's real.
So is that consciousness doing its thing?
It's all consciousness doing its thing.
Well, I mean, in terms of this process of, seeing through the story, seeing through the belief, is that's part of the process of waking up? It's sort of the spontaneous...
Sure. Can be.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't necessarily have to be.
Nothing
works.
Nothing has to be.
Mm-hmm. Because that was my question.
Nothing has to be.
Yeah.
You notice
is this part of the process of waking up, or?
You notice it can be. It doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, your makeup, your karmic makeup, will dictate whether it has to be or not has to be. It won't be for you or me to decide. It will be for your makeup to decide. Right? You notice I always usually start a retreat by really pointing directly to your true nature. And within the first day, often on the first day, I'll point right to consciousness, right to awareness. Because I know, because I've seen it many times, as I've said, an egoic basket case can have a very deep and profound spiritual awakening. And by the way, I'm not calling you an egoic basket case. You're not. But I've seen it happen. So it can happen. However, even though that can happen, in other words, one can bypass one's conditioning, one's karma completely. And every once in a while, you'll bypass it, and the revelation will be so deep that it will kind of wipe it out of your system. For most people, they can bypass it all, but even though you've transcended it, often the mere fact that you've transcended it and gone to the ultimate and realized the ultimate doesn't necessarily mean that it's all got flushed out of your system.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you go to the absolute, it is like a washing machine for karma. You never come back from an immersion in the absolute the same as before you went.
Mm.
It always is it is the most powerful purifying element there is. But it's very rare that someone will just transcend everything, go to the absolute, and then all that sort of their internal unconscious belief structures, that all of them will just fall out of their system. There'll usually be some there. And you know they're there, and you know you have to look at them if they just keep repeating and repeating and repeating. And that means, okay, just to transcend them isn't quite enough. You have to bring consciousness to them.
Because that's the pattern I've seen over and over again. This opening of the heart, and then going out of the retreat setting, and then the fear.
Right. That's why I try to give you a few more tools than just awakening, but also some tools. It's nice to have a few, not too many things in your toolkit, but a few things in your toolkit. So you go back out, and of course, this is a safe environment, isn't it? we're basically not too, we're not challenged. No one's coming up and I mean, they might give us a nasty look or something, or more likely someone will give you a look and they won't really notice you and you'll interpret it as nasty, but that's about the worst that's going to happen. So we're not really, challenged. And then you go, out in the world and we get challenged, right? And if you have little buttons still all over your body, there's always somebody that's more than glad to push it, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's when it can be useful, to have a little toolbox, because it gets pushed, and you either blame it on the person who pushed it, or you see, no, nobody has the power to make you happy or miserable. Nobody. You and I, we do that to ourselves, for ourselves. So somebody comes up and says something and it makes you feel miserable. It only does because you've told yourself something about yourself based on what they said. It's not them, it's us. And so that button gets pushed and you take responsibility, which means my mind's doing it to me. It's not them. It's not the situation. It's not the world. It's nothing out there. It's always an inside job. My mind, how is my mind doing this to me? Right? My body goes into contraction, into upset, into hurt, anger. These are all warning signs. These are the ways that truth has been biologically hardwired into our system. When it goes into conflict, it's like our system's saying, take a look. You're veering from what's real. And when you look, you go, there is always a hidden belief that you're believing.
Yeah. Well,
I can see that.
I just light went on. So I usually interpret that as they're right, or I am, whatever. So you're saying there's another way to see that.
Absolutely.
It's the body, it's consciousness through the body trying to say, pay attention.
That's right. That's all it's trying to say.
There's something being believed.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be believed.
That's right. And that all you're experiencing when you have a negative emotion, the only thing you're experiencing is a negative belief. An untrue belief. But there aren't true beliefs. That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a true belief. You can't put truth into words, therefore you can't put truth into beliefs. You can have beliefs, but they're not going to be true. Okay. We basically believe things either that we've been taught or sold, or we really, really hope. Right? When someone's in the vision of reality, what do you need a belief for? If you think about it, what's the necessity to belief, to existence, to life? It just gets in the way, right? To life, all it needs is a clear perception.
Yeah.
It doesn't need something to carry on its back a belief that's going to help it deal with a situation. It just needs to see the truth of any situation. That's all it needs.
Like when I go out and I have that feeling open-hearted and I'm not being plagued by that belief, that's exactly my experience in the world. This is great. This is like, whoa, I'm like super intelligence or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is super intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you don't need anything at that when that's present, do you?
Right.
You don't need to carry anything with you. It's like this openness, this clarity, this love, it knows how to meet anything that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And your mind doesn't need to know how. It can't know how. Something else knows how. So, see, you have those moments. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We don't need any of those beliefs. But sometimes, every once in a while, if they're really reoccurring over and over and over and over and over and over and over, at that point you realize, okay, to just try to transcend it isn't probably going to be a strong enough force. I have to kind of go in there, not analyze it, figure it out, put it into a philosophy, just notice what I'm experiencing is a belief. What is the belief? Oh, that's the belief. And then sit there and feel. Don't try to get rid of it, analyze it. Just go, okay, believe this, and oh, this is the feeling that my belief produces. And you can feel it right in that moment. You can willfully take on the belief and then see what it feels like. I mean, you could do it right now, right? You could go, okay, I'm going to take on the belief, I don't belong here. Let me see. It might be a little difficult to take it on, because if you get an open space, but you take it on and you can feel in your body things start to change, right? Oh, my body is now taking on this belief. It's contracting. Oh, that old familiar sense of self, identity. Oh, that's how I think of myself. So, and in that moment, then you remind yourself, this is all that's happening is I'm experiencing a belief. My body is duplicating this thought into emotion and feeling. And then, and once you see that, you see that's all that's happening. It's just a belief. It's not something real.
Yeah, it's useless.
It's useless. Yeah. It was a piece of bad programming. Like programmers do in computers,
It's a bug.
Yeah. If you ever have Microsoft operating Windows system, you realize even good programmers keep making mistakes.
Yeah.
You have it, and then that you find some mistake, and then you've got to download something to correct the mistake. And, so it happens. We get all this programming, and, there's a lot of glitches in it that have to be removed. Okay?
Thank you.
Good to talk with you.
Good to talk with you.
Yeah. Great. And the reason I say if someone's going to look into something like this, and believe me, don't go looking for it simply because you heard me talk about it. Don't create a problem where there isn't one. You might not have to do any of this, okay? It's just a toolbox thing. If it arises, maybe you'll have a tool there to work with. But don't think you have to go figuring this out. I don't want anyone to walk out there and go, okay, now what's my core belief? God, another thing I have to do. No. No. Don't let your mind lead the process. Don't worry about it. But if something arises, you can remove each and individual belief, and you got so many of them in your system, you'll be removing them forever. And you'll usually create new ones as fast as you remove an old one. It's like somebody going well, I used to be a Christian, but now I believe in Buddhism. So they got rid of one and they grabbed another. Or I was a Buddhist, but now I don't believe in that, and now I'm a Sufi. So the idea isn't to remove one just to grab another. The core belief holds all the others intact. It's like a house of cards. Why remove every card from the top all the way down when you can get a linchpin at the bottom and the whole damn thing comes down all by itself? Right? Of course, the ultimate belief is, I am separate. That's the ultimate. I am separate from God. I am separate. All the others kind of come out of that one. Yes.